All right, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the fine point of recognizing capsular distortion, because it can be misleading. It's not always people's fault. Some horses have naturally some little bit of conformation issue, but it can actually become a self-perpetuating problem. So you can see in December 2025, the horse kind of was not standing quite correctly. You can see the position of the fetlock and the limb, and as it relates to the bony landmark of that foot, it's kind of quite deviated. And then after correction, and it's again not trying to make the horse a certain way, just looking at the bony landmark and how the bottom part of the foot is relating to the bony landmark and reducing the shearing, you can see quite a bit of difference actually as far as the descent of the limb over the fetlock and the entire capsule. So again, it's very easy for people to get misled, because if you start with a little problem, and it has nothing to do with metal shoe versus composite shoes or whatever. I've seen it barefoot, I've seen it with metal, and I've seen it even with my own shoes or other composite shoes. So it's not reading the capsule correctly, and it's making giant assumption on what the locomotion of the horse is. So for me, the first thing I do is to always try to see how the capsule has sheared as it relates to the bony landmark. You can see when we started in December. I started in December 2025. The foot has changed quite significantly from December 2025 to March 2026. The heel height is lessened. From December 2025 to March 2026, you can see that the heel height has reduced in March 2026, and the heel to bulb distance has improved. So the base of support is more under the bony columns, which is very important. The foot length has not changed significantly, so that's okay. It's just got brought back more under the bony column. And again, the right front foot, heel height is different, it's less. The foot length has improved in that case. And the heel to bulb distance has also improved, so you're going to have to have the base of support where it's better mechanically in terms of not having distortion at the sole. And you can also notice that the coronary band is not jacked up, so that makes a huge difference. Again, it's unfair to say it's due to just the metal shoe. That's not quite true. I think a lot of it has to do with trimming and not recognizing the heels, or trimming to whatever you perceive or your belief system are. This is the x-rays before trimming. I mean, there's not much trimming to do, just that's it. And you can see the palmar angle is good. It's 4.96 on one and 5.46 degree on the left. And where before you had quite a significant palmar angle. So the left front is, quote, the lower foot. So it's not significantly different. Both of them x-rays were taken pre-trimming, so we're all fair to everyone. And then you have the right front in December and March again. Right front was way too upright, and that's 8.36, even with a foot that is already a little bit more upright. It's too much. You're going to start having, and it's a young horse. Then the next one also, people are going to tell me, oh, I took too much toe or not enough. Well, it's a question, that's in March, the toe lengths, from the corium projected forward, was 1.13, and after setting the shoe and trimming is 1.01, and some people would say it's too long, some people are going to say it's too short, so I can't win there. But again, very interesting. The right front, you can see in December, you can see the load across the fetlock, and the descent of the cannon bone is really slanted. And you are actually have more length on the medial side, which is not normal. Normally a foot should be wider on the lateral than the medial. So something happened. People were not reading the white line correctly, or I have no idea, and they changed the horse completely. I mean, that's why the owner was coming, because they noticed was not locomoting like it used to. The next one also same thing, and you will notice again you have a descent over the capsule that is not very good, and the lateral side is not too bad compared to the other one, but it's sheared more to the lateral side than the medial side. So you have a lot of shearing happening for the capsule, and obviously it affects the sole. This is also a pretty badly distorted foot. You probably won't notice it, but in February it was still quite distorted, and I didn't put a line, but it's still a drop sole, and that's not very good till that kind of get better. And I still have it a little bit in March, so it's not me, removing too much material. It's still part of the drop sole. It takes a little while for the foot to get better. Drop sole, it's pushing down onto the sole, and that's not very good. It like everything, it's going to take a while to heal. So what I mean by drop sole, there's different way of a sole can drop, but it's basically pushing into the sole and creating problem. In that case, it's pushing more on one side than the other, but you really do not want to see that on the foot. So supporting the load correctly, according to the bony landmark, and sliding the shoe where you need to will make a big difference. So my vision of poor loading, I call it an avalanche effect, because as the sole kind of gets distorted, so does the wall, so does the limb, so does everything start changing, and you will have a big mess. And this is what you have an avalanche, okay? And the potential result of the avalanche effect, as I call it, it's increased shearing due to faulty loading. So the capsule and start shearing around the bony column, and you do not want to have that if you can avoid it. That's why when I trim, I look at where the capsule is in a relationship to the bony landmark, and then figure out the plan. Because I think it's very difficult to decide what is the conformation of a horse when you have capsular distortion. It's complicated because you have 4 legs. So you want to start to stabilize the position of the sole and the entire capsule under the bony column, but the position of the sole needs to be also from a medial laterally point of view, it needs to be around the bony landmark. So this is what I mean. It would be very deceiving for people not understanding that, because some people would say it would be a flare. They remove more flare, and they're not still shifting the capsule where it belongs. Again, it takes time. I don't think you can force it. You're not going to change the conformation of a horse, but you can diminish a lot of problem when you kind of start looking at that. So this is why I find sometimes a little bit dangerous when you look at locomotion. I mean, I use motion capture. I have a system. I use that. So that's not the point. But the point is, how much do you decide to correct in one throw? How much do you decide to put on the horse to get what you think the horse should move like? That's always, I make this analogy. You start with a bar stool, you end up with a footstool. It's perfectly balanced, but it's not really what the horse needs. So it's a give and take, and you need to give it time. Unfortunately, this industry doesn't always allow us to give time to solve problem, but that's very important to do that. That's another hoof, same thing, the people trim to distortion. Again, it's not always the cause because of metal shoes or not metal shoes or whatever. It's really not reading the capsule correctly. Again, projecting your points and figuring out what you can make a huge difference. Obviously, when you work with something that is more synergetic with the hoof capsule and the mechanical property of the horn, you go much faster as far as correcting thing. But the bottom line is still the trim. See the same hoof changing over time. It's going to take a while. And so you need to really, really understand that you have distortion, and they don't come out just, overnight. That's the same hoof. I mean, thank God you didn't get a quarter crack, so, that's not very pretty. And again, same hoof, way too high, coronary band is jacked up, the heel height is too much, and doesn't mean it shouldn't have heel. It's just way too much, and it's still kind of distorted where you have the coronary band needs to also kind of get decompressed, but it takes time. But you can see the heel to bulb distance is better, so the base of support is more under the bony column, so you will not have as much distortion over the sole as the cannonball descent over the sole. So same foot that was so distorted, now it's quite nice. I do not buff wall, So, I try to keep the moisture in there. It's kind of balanced right now. And what we're waiting for in this particular hoof is to just basically having all the distortion growing out and a foot changed structure. It takes about 9 months to a year. So it's a younger horse, so hopefully it goes about 9 months and then you have a very nice foot. This is what I call the plunger effect. It's really important to understand that loading across a surface will change depending on what happened with the loading. And as I mentioned earlier, you do have a loading issue. And it's not always due to conformation. Again, it's a four-legged animal. It might not even come from the forelimb, might come from the hind limb. So again, you want to support the base, and you want to make sure you do not make assumption on what the conformation of the horse is. Most horses have a half reasonable conformation. If it's really that bad, I don't think you should ride those horses.